This is a brand new podcast featuring my personal reviews of music, movies, video games, and more, featuring editorials on special topics and, of course, life itself. For this first episode, we're kicking things off with the return of guest week interviews featuring this month's guests, Kellie Blackburn and Marc Gibson. Get ready. This is Marshall's Bazaar. Hello, people of the universe, and welcome to the first episode of my brand new podcast, Marshall's Bazaar, starring me, Marshall Brown. Now, for this first episode, I really wanted to kick things off with a bang. How do you follow up weekend vlogs? That is the big ticket question here. Why don't you just make a show that's more focused? Make a podcast that people will want to listen to when you're on the go, despite the fact that for this first episode, I have it outside of my booth, and you can hear the sound bouncing off the walls. I fully understand that this is crap quality, but you know what? It's all good because I've got my two best friends to back me up on here. My first guests of the month for our once-a-month guest interviews like we did with weekend vlogs. We are having two people on this podcast that means so much to me that have come all this way, about a whole hour of driving just to come and see me here in Morrisville. I want everybody to please put your hands together despite the fact that I won't be able to hear it for my two best friends, the first guests on Marshall Bazaar, Kellie Blackburn and Marc Gibson. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Right. So today's topic, I really wanted to have you guys on the show because I really wanted to talk about life after college, specifically just going a whole month out on your own and what your experiences were like thus far. How's that grab you?
It's a mixed bag of beans, really, because it's nice to have freedom and not be like, oh, I have all these classes and all these commitments and stuff like that, but it's also really scary because you're like, oh, okay, I don't want to live with my parents for that long, and it's going crazy, and I want to get out of the house and start things, get a job.
Of course, absolutely none of that applies to you, Marc.
Mm-mm.
No, but I mean, I do enough on campus, and I work enough to where it already feels like I kind of like I'm just working and doing community college on the side. It's kind of how it feels half the time.
Of course,
it works for me.
Of course, with this brand new format that I'm playing around with, this is Marshall's Bazaar. So topic of the day is life after college. If this applies to you, feel free to put this into the Soundcloud comments and keep the conversation rolling because that is what this show is all about. So with that said, how about we just keep the ball rolling? First of all, how do you like this new format I'm playing around with? Just talking to the mic without necessarily worrying about what you look like in front of the camera.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier. I'm half naked right now, so it's not all right.
As am I. I like to keep it very hot in here. For the record, we were all just kidding about that.
Yeah, we're all completely clothed.
I want to keep this podcast PG. I got to quit saying that this is a show. It's a podcast. You can only hear me. You can't see me. But of course, you make do with the resources you got. I'm just getting into the game. So everybody, please bear with me. All right. So, Kellie, I got to ask you, after you walk that stage and after you get your nice and shiny piece of paper that says you're smart, I got to ask, what was like the first thing that you did?
After I got off stage?
Yes.
I tried to find my seat. Actually, it's really funny. There's a certain direction you were supposed to go, but I was so excited that I had gotten my diploma, I went the wrong direction to my seat.
Yeah.
But I noticed as I was sitting down that like a lot of other people did that too, so I didn't feel weird that I was the only person to do that. Other people did it, so it was cool.
That's okay. No.
Yeah.
But of course, I myself tried to find my parents, and I did see my dad after he took the picture of me just walking off the stage with everybody else. But what we did afterwards was just, we went and got lunch just because we were all hungry and we all just wanted to eat. It was the first thing we did.
Yeah,
but
you kind of just sit there and sweat for 5 hours during graduation.
Yeah, it's hot.
But how about we just extend the timeline to about a week?
After?
Yes.
Okay, well, a week I still had my lease to my apartment, so I was staying with my best friend Jane.
And you were still at the Oaks apartment, and I just went back and forth because I was moving into this little shindig right here.
Yeah, which is not so bad, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, but then after that, things change and we, go off as the time sees fit. And both of us, you and me, Kellie, we moved out of the Oaks.
Mm-hmm. Did you see any of your professors?
I did for a split second for as much as I could before, I went back to my parents and other family members that wanted to just go have lunch afterwards.
But did you talk to your professors?
I did, and I talked to Dave Powell, who I hope is going to be teaching some of the lead classes. Please, 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 with the cherry on top.
I suggest for anybody who's listening that it's really important to keep close relationships with your professors, and then after, just like when you're graduating, it's always nice just to give them a little tip off and say thanks for all your help and support, because the professors are really what help or hurt get you through college, depending on what professor you have.
Yeah,
if they're a good professor, let them know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. There's no such thing as a too big of a network. Okay. But, then both of us moved out, and that was a tear-jerking experience.
Oh, yeah, that was really hard.
Uh-huh.
It took a long time, too, because when you're living in an apartment, you forget how much stuff you've gathered over the years.
Yeah, the moving out process was pretty hard, both furniture and Facebook networks. I mean, who has time for that?
Seriously.
Kelly, I did not get the chance to say this, but when you came to my Oaks apartment with Jane, might I add, as I was moving out, and we got to have that moment where we got to just walk over to the place that we met. That was probably one of the most genuine and most thoughtful things you could have ever possibly done for me.
Aww.
And so, I mean, honestly, to be able to actually thank you for that would be a huge understatement. I won't ever be able to thank you enough. So please, it's too much. It's just way too much.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it.
I think what Marshall you're referring to is the first place we met before even freshman year. We went right back there.
Yeah,
and then
we did.
The last day, Marshall, he was about to leave. He was about to move out. And so we went to the place that we met, and we took a picture of pretty much right where you were standing when I saw you for the first time. Well, technically, the first time I saw you was like in orientation hall, but the first time I talked to you individually was in the Oaks.
Yeah, it all comes back just before it all gets, taken away from you in a split second.
Well, I don't think it's really ever taken away. It's it's not gone. I still have your friendship, but it's just, it's not the same. It's a different
That's
type.
a very negative connotation on change.
Yeah.
Change is going to happen. It's just whether or not it's how you interpret it or which your perspective
adapt.
on that change is.
Yeah, exactly. I know Marshall and I will always be friends. It's just not going to be like Elon where you're 5 minutes away. Not even. Yeah.
That's the thing I'm somewhat a bit shaky on now that I'm in this new place, because I really got to work to keep the friend groups up, and
don't worry about it, man. An hour is not that bad. Literally we left at 5:30. We were at 6:30.
And you came to my castle, and I shall come to yours. It is what keeps the land holdings straight alive. It's that's what you do.
Hostile Palace.
I'm of course referring to what marriage used to be all about. It was a strategic thing to increase one family's land holdings. And in a sense, that's kind of what we do to keep our horizons up to this very day, just going back and forth between where our holding grounds and our housing really is,
That's why I consider dating Kelly.
That's it?
Yeah.
For my
Her
land
family's
holdings?
capital.
Did you look into it before you started dating me?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so moving on with questions. So you guys have now moved
Good
into...
subject change.
So moving on, you guys have moved in together after this whole college shenanigan is blown over after all is said and done. What do you think is the absolute hardest part about just trying to keep it on the up and up in this apartment of yours?
Well, it's Marc's apartment. I visit him from time to time. But wait, what was the question again?
The question was, what are some of the hardest things you have to deal with when living together?
Well, technically we're not living together as of now. I'm just visiting him in his apartment, so all of his stuff is there.
Yeah, it's the same thing we were in last year. I would come out hang out in Kelly's place,
Okay.
and the thing is it's 90% one person's and 10% others, which means you're living on one person's living on a bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just there's no even split because it's just an awkward college.
But where are you living, Kelly?
I'm currently living with my parents in the basement, and it smells like mildew and dying
I
dreams.
freaking love that basement. It was awesome.
It's mostly spiders now.
Dude, I wake up every day and there's a new spider bite somewhere on me. And I have one on my butt right now.
Spider butt.
Spider bite. I kid you not. And I can tell because it has little 2 fang
Are you
marks.
going to become Spider Girl?
I hope so. That'd be so cool.
I
Totally
know.
worth a spider
You can
bite.
make so much money.
Kelly.
What? That's what you thought of. Not saving the world.
Licensing deals. Dude, you could be on Wheaties. You could definitely be on Wheaties.
Kelly, I have to say that
Yeah.
it's, I feel sorry for you because you have spider butt.
I have spider bite. Yeah, well, nobody else can say that, so I
does
feel...
that mean the webs come out of your...
Stop.
No.
Stop.
Okay. I was thinking, like, this is a very useful
Let's just keep it.
I mean, just like a spider, it comes out of their...
Let's guys, please, let's just keep the mic sanitary for a quick sec. All right, so moving on. Just a random question. How was the drive over here, by the way? I know y'all ran into some traffic.
Marc hit a couple of cars, and
of course.
there was...
Yeah, I was just sideswiping everything.
As he
Honestly,
does.
like, North Carolina traffic is totally, like... North Carolina traffic is 110% rush hour dependent. Like, it's a 1-hour drive to Winston-Salem. It's a 1-hour drive to Raleigh. But it doesn't feel like a 1-hour drive when you just set the cruise control at 70.
Yeah, I hear you.
What makes it feel long is when I'm, like, stuck behind somebody going 55 and
in the
moving
far
around.
left hand, and you're like, why are you in this lane?
I know.
Oh, people are crazy.
I only asked because soon I'm going to be making that drive, as I said. You have
Elon,
come to see
yeah.
me, so I must come to see you.
Oh, yeah. And bring your trunks so we can go swimming at the pool. And
Which
And you
reminds me, why didn't you bring your trunk so we can go swimming at the pool?
Well, we didn't talk about
I
going
got a
swimming.
pool.
Yeah.
Well, next time when we come back.
No,
we'll go
and then
swimming.
you definitely got to come for the basketball games.
Or I could
man.
just swim in my
We gotta-
tears. Just kidding.
That is very cliched.
What?
Oh.
Wait, what were you saying? I'm sorry, I interrupted
Well,
you.
I'm saying, like, Marshall's got to come back for basketball games. You got to get
Oh,
the band back
right.
together.
Me and
man.
Marshall are supposed to be the new Dave and Sandy.
Of course. The things we think of on
Not
a
the new David
podcast.
Sandy, more
Okay.
like a younger
Okay,
David
okay,
Sandy.
yeah, because they're in Pet Band. There's these two guys. They're like retired, and they're so cool. They play the trombone, and they're alumni of Elon, and they always come back and play for the Pet Band. And Marshall and I love them, so like we aspire to be them one day. 'Cause we're both trombone players, and we want to come back. So when Dave and Sandy finally stop going, Marshall and I will take their spots, and we will be the new Dave and Sandy.
Well, I can't wait to definitely jump on that hype train when we get the chance. But for now, I've got a couple more questions I want to ask y'all.
Do,
So,
yes.
in terms of adulting, as most people do when they get out of college, I got to ask, what have y'all done for work?
I work at... What do I do?
Yeah, see, I have the opposite question. What don't I do? All I do is work.
See, I because I don't have a job right now, I try to occupy myself with job searching and playing the guitar and weeping into my pillow late at night. That's
Yes.
that's most of my job right now.
I do one out of those three things. So
Play guitar?
there you go.
There you go.
But of course, my work that I've done so far at Fidelity Investments has been just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, what's it like being on your own in this apartment? Isn't it kind of, I don't know, I'd feel like I'd be so like, no, I need a roommate.
To be honest with you, I mean, just doing this all by myself without a roommate, it's kind of been somewhat of a jump, but at the same time, I'm in control, and I really like just being able to just do things my own way when, time comes and it's need be.
True. You don't have to go through anybody.
I've got my own routine that I've stuck to and stuff like that, and of course, at Fidelity and other places here in Morrisville, I've just been, building my network and always talking with people and stuff, and that's I think the best thing you can do out of everything.
And I feel like until you like living alone, you don't really have that feeling of like true independence.
Yeah.
Like if I have to walk in and worry about like, oh, can I leave the light on right now, or is that an inconvenience to my roommate? Like, come on, man. Like,
Obviously, lone wolf talking here.
what real adult thinks about like, oh, is this gonna bother my roommate? Like, yeah, that's definitely.
In all seriousness, Kelly, I really do hope that you are able to find some stuff that can help you ride the money train very soon.
I hope so too. It's
There's some stuff in the works.
There's definitely some stuff in the works. I actually found some really nice stuff today. I was looking at positions in Winston-Salem. So,
All right. Have you taken any interviews?
no, I haven't. But I found things. So it's nice to at least know there's like offers in my area because Winston-Salem, if my career path is a little bit more, how do you say, not as many opportunities. So
It's very tight. You have until April, so you're good. Yeah.
Have you thought about taking any odd jobs?
yeah, actually, I looked at temp jobs today. There's a couple that are like for like a month or 2 months, and I'm like, anything I can do to make money, because once you get out of college, it's weird. Like before college, I was like, I'm totally cool asking my parents for money or like needing any loans.
Yeah.
But then after college, like it's totally different dynamic. After being by yourself for 4 years and you go back home, you're like, I don't want to ask them for like gas money, or I don't want to ask them to help me on stuff. Like,
because then you feel like you're indebted.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you're indebted, and you feel like you're a kid again. It's just you don't have that college thing where you're just like, I don't need parents.
Well, of course, Kelly. I mean, you're not a kid anymore.
But
you are always a kid at heart,
exactly,
as am I.
Exactly. I was about to say, I think I always have like a little kid spirit, but yeah, it's definitely hard.
Well, sis, if there's one thing I know about you is that you always keep the youth in me strong.
Aww.
You bring that out.
Right back at you, that's for sure.
So moving on, I mean, as I've said, good luck with trying to find your way and your focus and stuff like that. I got a bit of a somewhat off-topic question.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reading off all the names and the people graduating from Elon and stuff like that, there was a bit of like an asterisk next to your name that said will receive a degree on completion of other things and stuff like that. What's this other thing you got to complete?
So for comm majors at Elon, you get like one free class. Like you can still walk with your class if you haven't completed one class. And for me, that was the internship. So I still have to get an internship and take the internship class, and then I'll receive my diploma.
And of course, internships are always important.
It's the last thing I have to do. So apparently it's pretty common for comm majors to do.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people who are doing that this year, so.
All right, I'm going to just quit harking on all of you for all the adult stuff. Right now, I just want to give out about 2 more fun questions, and then we'll call it a night and probably watch some movies on my super gihugical 4K TV.
Shout out to Marshall's TV.
All right, so Mark, how has your game been going? Specifically, have you seen E3?
Yeah, well, I've been like crazy busy. I mean, I'm pulling like crazy hours right now.
What was your favorite game that you saw at E3?
Spider-Man.
Yes, that is my favorite too.
I think like the combat just looks so original, and like I was waiting to see because I remember playing Spider-Man on the original PS2. So like that, I don't think it was the first Spider-Man game, but it's the first one I remember playing.
And I of course have Spider-Man 2 on GameCube.
Yeah,
which is the same thing, but still.
And the combat was like very clunky. Like it was great at the time, but like playing now, you're like, this is just awkward, not fluid. But this combat, like the way they did it, where it's like in and out, like this variable speed. It just looked like they had some really interesting novel ideas.
But of course, we'll get to play it very, very soon in 2018 when that comes out. Yeah, I mean, it takes time to make really good games like that.
And God of War. I'm excited for the new God of War.
Can't wait to play Hipster Kratos.
Yes. Hipster Kratos, and if they make The Last of Us 2 whenever that comes out.
They'll probably announce some more details on that at the next PSX.
Yeah,
they did announce the dates, and so that's coming up. All right. Kelly, question for you. Have you come up with any new guitar riffs recently?
I have. Actually, I just made one today.
Fun.
It's a little bit more melancholy because that's pretty much how my mood has been lately, but it's good, I think.
But of course, through trials and tribulations, we all still have time to pass the time. Like, it's fun is the only thing we have to focus on, and I just really enjoy those nice times like that. But of course, with that said, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Marshall's Bazaar. Kelly, Marc, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
And of course, I hope you'll continue to listen, as there will be more weekly episodes put up on SoundCloud.
Woo.
So feel free to follow me on SoundCloud. The handle is MC Brown. You can't miss it, and you should follow anyway, just because I've got all my original songs up there. But this SoundCloud page is going to be the dumping ground for the rest of my podcast episodes. I'm going to be interviewing a new guest or set of guests once every month, so feel free to check back 1 month from now for the next guest week interview. And for next week, we'll be talking about Spider-Man movies and Spider-Man in film, as we have already pointed out that Spider-Man is soon going to be an awesome Sony exclusive video game because rights.
And a new movie. I mean, there is going to be a new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I'm going to be basically giving my thoughts before Spider-Man Homecoming comes out. And then when that happens, then I'll do a small update along with a couple of my other editorials and opinionated pieces I'll be coming out with. So feel free to tune in. Also, please excuse the echo and bounciness of the voice. I mean, Kelly and Marc did not want to do this in my closet where you could actually dampen the sound.
Don't blame us. It's a small closet.
But if you tune in next week, we will be taking things to a bit more of a professional level. I definitely promise that the sound is going to sound much better than it does. Again, Kelly, Marc, thank you so much for being here. So how's about I turn this up and let's hang out and stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Marshall Brown, out!